Ramacharitamanas. And as an inquisitive child, I would go up and listen. He could have read it in Awadhi, understood it, read the Khariboli translation, it wasn't in English, tell us whether it be in Bhojpuri or even in Trinidad English Creole. So imagine that, somebody who is so dexterous in so many vernaculars and even different languages, but yet still this person didn't go through English school, and so he was never seen as...
And you termed illiterate. But you brought up the good point there of your important point of your grandfather reading the text. That Ramayana, our tradition, is one of performance. So you actually, the personal reading was one of the methods prescribed in the Vaishnava tradition, one of the methods of showing devotion.
Right.
And community. So a lot of the older folks on evenings would sit and read.
And I remember that was the tradition he carried on, because we would know definitely at this time, we'd be hearing his voice singing from his room.
That was his personal sadhana.
And then we would go up to his room and just engage with him. And I want to come back to the point of research, and we'll now delve into probably the book. You could probably just lift it up and just show the cover.
Well,
this book, I understand, was recently finished publishing through the Ayodhya
Research Institute.
The Ayodhya Research Institute. This was published, it was written by you, and your research is in there, and it was published by the Ayodhya Research Institute. Is not available in Trinidad at this point, but it will hopefully be in this part of the diaspora sometime later this year. I want to talk about the first thing we'll talk about. I think we should bring in the Ayodhya Institute and that initiative, which is an important part of the discussion. But I want just briefly to look at, because you have done research in Ram Leela in Trinidad, in Suriname, Mauritius, Fiji. Just give a general synopsis of comparison.
Before I go to comparison, let me not forget that a lot of the photos that I took were on the field, research, very amateur but valuable for research.
Right.
And a lot of those photos form the basis of a calendar that the Ayodhya Research Institute.
Yes, I remember that.
Yes, published on the Ram Leela traditions in Trinidad. So that's an important historical document.
We definitely need to do that again, because I think it's something that will really market what Ram Leela is. And I remember the pictures were very well done and colorful and attractive to the eye.
I don't know how he was able to do the magic, but they were simple pictures. Yes, and come back to your original question.
So now there's a new drive and a new initiative where we have re-established a connection back to Ayodhya. And that tradition now, where the Ayodhya Research Institute, which does a lot of work in the field of Ram Leela, you were able to engage them. Tell us a bit about that, and that resulted in the two groups going there for interaction, performance, and training. Tell us a little bit about how that story started.
Well, it was during my research, and I had to go to the Ayodhya Research Institute, because that's where all the Ramayana traditions, it's the Department of Culture of the Uttar Pradesh government. So it's an autonomous body, and the building in which this is housed is the building where Tulsidas actually started writing the Ramcharitmanas. And every day of the year, Ram Leela is performed on the stage. They have a wonderful tradition where people from all over the country would come to perform Ramayana, we say Ram Leela, on the stage for like 15 days or so. And they're paid for it. So they pay the artists. And that helps to sustain the tradition. And they have a museum and so on. And they've been doing a lot of research. And Dr. Y.P. Singh is the director, who was, we had met through, actually, Sat Balkaran Singh was the one who had introduced me. Because Sat had gone before me. He was researching for his book as well on Ram Leela. He compared Ram Leela in India there with the Pear Road Ram Leela. But in terms of the comparison between, we are a Leela tradition. That is not so prevalent in India today. There are few places where you can see the Leela tradition, meaning in the open air, and the style of it. They have stepped up a bit in terms of the dramatic element. And I suspect in Trinidad we also would want to step up, because if you're in a totally rural environment, the Leela was amateur. It was for the ordinary people. it was bhakti. They didn't come to see fancy costumes and so. They came because, like I said, explained, it was also a pilgrimage to actually come and see this text being performed, their holy text, their sacred text. And the space and everything of Ram Leela is sacred space. There's a difference between holy and sacred. Sacred is where the deity actually resides. And that's why the Ram Leela ground is always surrounded and blocked off. While it blocks off the audience from the performance, it also is a sacrosanct space.
Because that goes back to my knowledge of the Ram Rekha.
Yes.
That's very important. And the symbolism of Hinduism. We take a short break when we'll continue this conversation with this new collaboration that is taking place between India and the Caribbean Indian diaspora.
Hi, I'm Bina Mahez, inviting you to join us on our program From Darkness to Light. Every weekday at 11 a.m. we will discuss current and cultural affairs, share news from around the world impacting on our diaspora, highlight community events, showcase Bollywood and local hits, present an uplifting inspirational segment, and much, much more. We would also have experts in various disciplines sharing with us their thoughts and expertise. In our call-in segments, we encourage you to share your thoughts and opinions on major issues affecting you. Join us right here on IETV every weekday at 11 a.m. where we educate, enrich, and entertain from darkness to light every weekday at 11 a.m.
Hello everyone, I am Krish Anji Tiwari. You may have heard that there are many persons living with diabetes mellitus in Trinidad and Tobago. This condition affects the patient, the family members, the workplace, and the state. So I ask, are you diabetic and would like to know what is happening to you? Do you have a challenge managing your blood sugar and need some assistance? Would you like to know what you can do for good diabetes management? Allow me to address these concerns and others as it relates to diabetes management for better health and well-being. Join me on IETV as we use the science of food and research in the understanding of diabetes.
Understanding Diabetes with Krish Anji Tiwari, Mondays at 7 p.m. with repeats on Thursdays at 9 a.m.
Welcome back to this edition of Bhoolal Parampara. Again, we are looking at the Ram Leela tradition and aspects of that may have been forgotten over time. So, Pandita, we are talking about this collaboration with the Ayodhya Research Institute. You mentioned Dr. Y.P. Singh, and I understand that he's also would be coming sometime soon in Trinidad. But tell us about the experience of the two groups and what feedback you got from them after their stint in Ayodhya for training with this institution.
Right. So let me just go back to 2012. Dr. Y.P. Singh had brought a group here. So Trinidadians were able to see for the first time the tradition on the stage. It was a dramatic theatrical on the stage, but still with all a lot of the aesthetics that were very traditional and not Western dramatic. You know, the way the rasas are, it was an exploration of the rasas, which you will not find, you know, in a dramatic Western
I think you
style.
should elaborate on rasas a bit, because I don't think the general, I haven't been exposed to it. I know it from the tradition of nritya or dance, but I mean drama is also part of that. So just elaborate on it.
Well, the Natya Shastra is that text where India gave to the world on dramaturgy, and it includes all the ways, dance, music, you know, singing, everything. So the rasas are basically 9 rasas now. They were originally 8, and you have 9. It is a different emotions and moods. So the success of a play, the success of a performance, be it Leela or be it dramatic, is how well you, the performer, were able to communicate what you had in your mind to the audience.
Yeah, because you're not speaking actually.
Right.
It's a drama of
and
dance.
Could you draw tears?
Yeah.
Could you and then that was a success. So it was very interactive. It's not like you're looking, in normal drama here, we'd have like 180 degrees. Your stage is here and the audience is there, and there's a wall in modern drama. And this happened with what we call the Parsi theatre, following British, trying to imitate the British, and you had the Parsi theatre on the stage in India at that time. But before that, it was a Leela underground.
Right. Going back to the experience now, what sentiments were expressed by the two groups that went to India?
Well, there was this urge when that group first came here in 2012. UTT and NCIC collaborated to put on the show, and people got their interest peaked about this rasa and the new, and of course, the Hindu Prachar Kendra has been doing yearly, annually, they do 6 and 8 weeks of training. So people were really excited to see what was coming out of India. And India had also invited them. The institute invited them to be able to come and participate. And this time when Shivagana went in November, some of them remained back after the performance to learn behind the scenes and to people. And that invitation is open to all Ram Leela enthusiasts. And they were very excited about learning new strategies, new techniques, seeing it's not like we're going to imitate what is there in India, because we have evolved in many ways. Many ways, what is very special, like you would see the Hindu Prachar Kendra when the Ram Leela performance was at Kumbh Mela. It was spectacular. I mean, the Jatayu, the bird, that costume was made by a mask maker. And actually I was there in the beginning, and the mask maker, fasted and all of that before he did this. So he also got into the whole aesthetic of the thing, and it was a wonderful piece and the thing is, they have that for years, whereas in Carnival we wear it this year and we throw it away on the street by Tuesday.
I would speak to that, coming to the part of the interview, but looking at now these two groups coming back, I mean, it's too early to say what the improvement, if any at all, with respect to the performance. But based on the interaction, then, what are your projections?
Well, the first thing, they were able to see a variety live. They saw different countries.
Because I understand Russia came, Indonesia, Cambodia. And Russia, people don't even notice that Russia has a large Hindu community.
But their performance was from a theatre group.
Right.
Actually, in the university. But they were able to interact, and that was so important in this global world in which we live today. That you're not alone. That what you have is so important. That in fact we were so proud of our Leela tradition, the open air tradition, rather than just going on the stage like everybody else doing a dramatic thing. Ours was unique, and that is something I wish we would really. I think it's going to happen. People are realizing that we have something very unique. India also recognizes that. In fact, when Shivagana performed, the Yogi Adityanathji, the chief minister, was in the audience, and he bowed to them. It was such a touching moment, because they were able to incorporate a lot of the Leela traditions, like the miming, not speaking, the movements, and the Ram Leela dance evolved in Trinidad.
I could speak for that group, because I was privy to that group, or exposed to them before they were Shivagana in my community. And I would tend to be biased, I guess, but what I know about Ram Leela and the art form itself, I would have known from how this particular group practiced and evolved over time. Now let's look at drama in general, right? Because Ram Leela is one form of drama within the context of the tapestry that is the culture of Trinidad and Tobago. You made an example and you used the term a masked man, which if you tell a Trinidadian, that would never be associated with Ram Leela. But we ignore the contribution of the Indian tradition of drama, or from the indented laborers, and how it even contributed to things even in the context of Carnival. And I know from research that I'm currently doing is that this issue of fasting and ritual and religious aspects was also in the mass, that not even in today. So just like the traditions of Ram Leela changed over time, the same way the traditions in Carnival would have changed, but to me it comes from that same context. I mean, looking at the Ahir Biraha songs and extempo, and looking at the extempo on stage during Carnival time, one would wonder, does it have some common source?
But isn't the extempo exactly what these people did when they were singing on the stage on exchange in Gali and so on?
Yes, and we all know this from me growing up in that background. It was very prevalent. Yes. It was very prevalent even in the wedding setting as well. But I want to bring it back to the point of drama in Trinidad and Tobago and funding, because Ram Leela, like other elements, even stick fighting, which is something I'll bring on this stage, even local theatre that alludes to using Trinidad English Creole, whether it be at the Central Bank Auditorium. Do you think enough money is being spent on, one, drama and culture in general, where the Trinidad or Trinbagonian identity is concerned?
Well, I think there's a lot of money, but I'm not sure that it's reaching the right people. Because we tend to go through organizations, representative organizations, umbrella organizations, and the real people. I mean, look at these two groups I just talked about. They never received, they hardly received funding from the Ministry of Culture. They had received once or twice when I intervened. But that shouldn't be. These people are performing, and you're asking them to come through some representative organization. And I think that's going to kill. That's what happened to Carnival as well. When you centralize the whole thing so much. Now, Ram Leela is a community event. This is not something you can put, in fact, they're doing it in India. They have a group of performers and you move them. That's dramatic performance. Leela in the community is a community event. So you're really funding a community when you fund a Leela event. And the whole community gets involved. This is not a Hindu thing only.
I agree.
When I say only, it is Hindu because it is, and not only Hindu, it's Vaishnava. It's a Vaishnava event of Lord Vishnu and Ram and Krishna, the Krishna Leela and the Ram Leela. So you have all members of the community would get involved. And my research has shown everybody in the community also would fund.
So I want to ask this question then, because I often question it in my mind. When we institutionalize things where culture is concerned, do we really kill the culture? I mean, do we really cause it to atrophy? Should we keep it as a grassroots community level? Your research, what does your research say about that?
Well, you know, the panchayat system was a great system that kept things organized, but also in the community. But when we centralize this thing, to me, like I'm seeing a lot of loss. I'm seeing money, but I'm not seeing all the groups getting it to do what they need in their own space.
Now, me being a medical doctor, bringing my experience, because I see a lot of commonality in these things, right? When you go mainstream, you go corporate, marketing. And a lot of times, the message or the tradition is lost in the field of marketing. Because it goes in the direction of what brands you would want to highlight. And I agree, Carnival goes in that way. And even Indian traditions from the East Indian community, also it tends to go in that way. I mean, yes, Diwali was something that was community, but now it has become something mainstream, and sometimes you wonder if it's really an injustice to the festival and tradition, or if it really is promoting it. And I think that's bringing it up in this forum. I think we even getting it out there for discussion. I think it's something that we need to discuss.
Well, you can't really stop the nationalization. That is also necessary, just as the ordinary because the tastes, the rural tastes have also changed. Today, the rural communities are asking for a Leela that's a little more sophisticated. So things it is dynamic.
So I guess is a give and take.
Yes, you have to look at the impact. I remember when Diwali Nagar started, a lot of us in the community were very concerned that community Diwalis were going to die. And I've seen it. I've seen many of them closed up because this is a bigger, more exciting thing. Is it worse? Is it better? I can't say.
I think we need to do more research in that field. But what I want to also bring up at this point is then the use of the word culture. If we don't really understand it in the truest sense, I think from my mind, that in itself is a hindrance to more development, because you talk about now within a modern context with technology and develop new styles and art forms within drama itself. If we don't understand what culture is really, then we wouldn't really avail ourselves of things that would enhance it.
And let me go back to UNESCO declaring Ram Leela a World Heritage should be protected in 2008. And they said because it gives identity to that community.
Right.
So when you talk about culture, you're seeing that this, when you hear Dog Village, what do you think of? When you hear Cedar Hill,
yeah,
it identifies.
It's synonymous
yes.
with Ram Leela.
So it brought your whole community together.
Yes.
So and I feel any Ministry of Culture, any government should really want to encourage. And I remember when it was Bharat Jagdev, then Prime Minister of Guyana, because I was doing research in Guyana, and I met with him, and he said they had never seen the Ram Leela. It had died before. And then he promised to come to Trinidad to see it. Yeah. One morning, at 6 o'clock in the morning, I got a phone call. Indrani, I'm on my way from China. Can I jump in to see the Ram Leela? And he came, and the impact of that in community was important to him, because, they have the socialist kind of thing. So he saw what this does for community cohesion. And we really need to do that and fund that, but let the funding go to the people.
All right. Before we go to a break, I want to at least, there was a quote. There's a quote you had told me once regarding the open air and drama and its connection with God. You remember that quote?
That Vishnu, in the Vaishnava tradition, Vishnu is the whole embodiment, the whole cosmic explanation of Ram Leela. So that if you played on a stage, you were not really engaging the whole of the cosmos. Whereas in the Leela, you engage the cosmic relationship between the earth, between you, and between that wider expanse. Which is like
Bhur-Bhuvasva.
Yeah.
Okay, so we go for a short break, and we have something interesting for you at the end. We'll see you back on the other side.
MRK Consultants, agent for Presidential Insurance Company Limited, is celebrating 16 years of insurance services. With convenient parking and knowledgeable staff, MRK Consultants are geared to provide all your motor insurance needs, including third-party and comprehensive coverage for all your motor vehicles. Call or visit our office today. MRK Consultants, Chandrahari Building, number 9, Todd Street, El Socorro, 221-5051. Save on your motor insurances. Call MRK today.
Elections 2020, keep to the point. We don't know the date, but the campaign for elections 2020 has started. The PNM and the UNC believe they have a right to government. But 2020 is not limited to the PNM and the UNC. We remain acutely aware of other political entities, some old and some new. And of course, the political personalities who refuse to retire, all of whom want to influence who leads Trinidad and Tobago over the next 5 years. We will be bombarded with all the campaigning, but we need to keep to the point. Yes, the movelang and mudslinging makes good bacchanal politics, but our society must move beyond this mentality. In elections 2020, keep to the point, the young and upcoming, the mature, the statesmen, and other stakeholders will share perspectives on returning Trinidad and Tobago to an era of good governance. Join me and my guests live on IETV each week as we talk elections 2020. Keep to the point.
Elections 2020 with Dr. Vishnu Raghunath, live every Wednesday at 8 p.m.
Welcome back to Bhoolal Parampara, and we are talking about Ram Leela, the Ram Leela tradition. Now, Pandita, there's one thing I remember as a child. After taking in the Ram Leela, there were stalls that would sell food, snow cone, Indian delicacies, savories, and doubles was something that I remembered.
Yes.
And I want to bring it in the form because I think it has a place in Ram Leela. Looking at the tradition, and you have a book here talking about doubles, and it's doubles. I think is something that brands Trinidad and Tobago, the Indo-Trinidadian experience.
Yes.
So could you just talk about that a bit?
Well, this Out of the Doubles Kitchen is a memoir written by Badruddin. You know, and it's a fantastic book. I can't put this book down because it's not doubles he's talking about only. He's talking about the history, how it started.
Just show the cover a little bit. So
So it's Out of the Doubles Kitchen.
Right.
And Badruddin is the author. It's a memoir. Now, this is not only about doubles. Like I said, it's telling the history because his family, his father, Dean, was the one that would have started. Well, from the Bara and Chana, it became doubles. And it's all recorded here, how it became that. Then you have the Alis, another branch of the family, making it popular as well. But this book is a fantastic book about culture. I mean, I have not seen in Trinidad too many of our own stories being told.
Yeah.
Oh my God, this thing goes, and yes, so much on women, the lives of women, Indian women, and like domestic violence, and it talks about entrepreneurship, how this man became an entrepreneur. And that is the success of the Indian community in Trinidad. It was how they were able to pick up and, you know.
And I think this speaks to what we spoke about earlier about community, but now we're not looking for government funding or institutional funding, but people now creating a brand in these different aspects of culture and becoming entrepreneurs and marketing that and making it self-sustaining. I think that's something that we should look at, not only with Ram Leela, even with cuisine and other aspects, because I find a lot of times when people look at culture, Indian or otherwise, they see it as a hobby. It's not something that looks at sustainability, strategic planning, and projection into the next year to 5 years.
Because like when he wrote this, he talked about how they were looked down upon, the Indians were looked down upon for eating roti. You couldn't eat roti in school, and doubles and so on was looked as a poor Indian food. And then he looked at how this thing was able to come from there, poor food, to being the most popular, perhaps, street food. Well, I think it is the most popular in Trinidad.
Not outside Trinidad now.
As well.
Because in London as well as in Canada and United States is very popular. I understand that now it wasn't in Suriname, but now it's getting some headway there. There's a restaurant.
They love it. They have their own variety.
Yes.
Suriname has what we had before, which was the bara, and they have a nice aloo chutney they make on it. Fantastic. But originally, when I was going to school, for example, we would buy a bara with the chana on top.
Right.
And so the doubles would come with the other one coming on top. And somebody was telling me you could only imagine a Trini saying, but you know, make it two, give me a double.
Yes.
So you could, and
that speaks to our creativity.
Yes.
Well, I'd like to thank you for coming, Pandita. This was indeed an enlightening discussion. And why I would like to encourage, especially where traditions are, because we don't step back a bit and look back at traditions, give it see where it was, where we are now, and how we could reinvent it to be relevant in modern times.
And understand where you are. So if you read this book, you'll see how you could become a millionaire too.
All right, viewers, I'd like to thank you. Today we looked at the Ram Leela, the tradition coming from indentureship period into modern day, and how important it is. Drama is something within the Trinidad landscape where culture is concerned that we need to look at how we could invest in it to improve it, but not take away from the tradition itself. I'd like to thank you for viewing. I hope you would look at the future episodes. Sitaram, Namaste, and good night.
As always, always be proud of your heritage. Always be sincere in your devotion. Always be uncompromising to your faith. It must always be Anchor Core Brand Key. Anchor core brand ghee is the original and only ghee that is trusted for generations and is used and endorsed by elders and religious leaders such as myself when they do their affairs. Always be true to tradition. It must always be Anchor core brand ghee, now available nationwide.
Clasp your hands, close your eyes, bow your heads. And in your minds, Om Sri Ram, Jai Sri Sita Ram. Om Sri Ram, Jai Sri Sita Ram.